Chapter 41. Unmuting, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Unmuting, 1, Kidigio. Dear readers, if you want a mass release of MLSW, please vote on my Patreon's poll below. https://www.patreon.com/posts/331294335 Su Yaya had a lot of time in her hands today. Her acting class was 2.30 in the afternoon, so she had nothing to do in the morning. She stayed at home to look through her script, then she prepared according to her understanding. When it was 11, she went to the kitchen to prepare 3 dishes and soup. She then placed them in the lunchbox before driving over to Chinshochi's company. When Su Yaya arrived, she called Chinshochi first to notify him. He said that he had already informed the reception desk, so she just needed to find the receptionist and take the elevator directly up. Okay, I know. She hung up and carried the lunchbox off the car before walking into Chinshochi's company. At the front desk, a slender woman with thick makeup and fashionable clothes was talking to the receptionist. I'm here for Brother Shochi. Open the elevator door for me. Hiroi looked at Unmuting and said in an official manner, Sorry, Missin, you don't have an appointment. I can't let you up. Then call Brother Shochi. If he knows that I'm here, he will definitely let me up. Unmuting said proudly. Hiroi looked at her and met her harsh gaze. She recalled the rumors she heard privately in the company and decided to call the president's office. Su Yaya carried her lunchbox to the front desk and was about to say that she bought food for Chinshochi when Unmuting recognized her. She immediately glared at her harshly and yelled, Su Yaya, why are you here? Unmuting. Su Yaya immediately searched information on Unmuting in her mind. She was Yutong's sister and younger than her by 2 years, yet she didn't look similar to her at all. In fact, Su Yaya might have looked more similar to the female protagonist Yutong. Unmuting liked Chinshochi, but he didn't like her back. Rather, he liked her sister, Yutong. She originally thought that she would have a chance now that her sister was abroad. Who knew that she had no chance regardless? When Unmuting found out that Su Yaya, an ordinary celebrity, became Chinshochi's mistress, she thoroughly disliked her. Thus, she would mock her at every opportunity, and whenever they crossed paths ever after the original host landed with a tragic consequence, Unmuting didn't forget to hit her while she was down. Unmuting didn't like Su Yaya and it was vice versa. In her previous world, Su Yaya already had a bad impression of Unmuting when she had read the novel. This character didn't come from a great background and she also lacked a good personality. She relied on her sister, Yutong, for everything, and yet she still acted proud. What a distasteful attitude. Su Yaya also hated how Unmuting tried to seduce Chinshochi behind her sister's back. Even in the second half of the book, when Chinshochi and Yutong were married, she ran to their house to shower and then wore a transparent lace lingerie, trying to seduce Chinshochi while Yutong was out. But Chinshochi remained unmoved while she tried to seduce him. In the end, he mercilessly taught her a lesson. Su Yaya hated people who were eager to be mistresses, especially when it was their own sister who they're trying to screw over. She despised them. Unmuting also disdained her, feeling too lazy to bother with her at this time. She didn't even want to talk to this unimportant woman, so Unmuting pretended as if Su Yaya was non-existent. At this time, Li Lan, who was working at the front desk, recognized Su Yaya. She experienced being slapped in the face before, so she didn't dare to neglect her. Li Lan smiled at her and said, Miss Su. President Chen already informed me. Follow me and I'll open the elevator for you. Thank you. Su Yaya smiled and thanked. She carried the lunchbox and followed. Don't you guys dare to go. Seeing that Su Yaya was about to leave, Unmuting pulled on her and stopped her from going. Chapter 42. Unmuting, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Ch 42. Unmuting, 2, don't you guys dare to go. Seeing that Su Yaya was about to leave, An Yuding pulled on her and stopped her from going. She interrogated Li Lan harshly, "You guys won't let me up, so why can she go up?" President Chen told us. Bulsh *T. An Yuding looked at Su Yaya in disdain. She believed that she was just a Chen Shochi's mistress and an ordinary celebrity. Who knew when she will be dumped by Chen Shochi? How could she compare to her? She dared to go up before her. She didn't want to believe this no matter what. Li Lan explained, "It's true. If President Chen didn't agree, how would I dare to let her go up?" An Yuding obviously knew this was true, otherwise the receptionists wouldn't be so polite to this despicable woman. She just didn't want to accept this. Just earlier, she wanted to pay Chen Shochi a visit, so she asked the receptionist to contact the CEO's office and obtain his permission before she could go up. But while she had to go through these procedures, Chen Shochi had informed his receptionists beforehand to let Su Yaya go straight to his office. The way he treated that annoying woman and her was like the difference between heaven and earth. She couldn't let this go, so she refused to loosen her grip on Su Yaya. Thankfully, Hiroi finished calling and obtained Assistant Chen's permission. She said to An Yuding, "Assistant Chen said that you can go up." When she heard this, she proudly raised her chin. She knew that based on her status as An Yutong's sister, there was no way that Chen Shochi won't let her up. As a result, An Yuding and Su Yaya went on the elevator together. An Yuding glanced at her lunchbox and mocked her, "Is the food edible? Do you know how picky Brother Shochi is? Do you know what he likes to eat? Even dogs won't eat the food you prepared." "Sorry, but he likes to eat the food I prepare for him." Su Yaya responded expressionlessly. She thought it was funny in her heart. There was no way that she didn't know that the dog she meant was Chen Shochi. He was truly a human-sized wolf. When he bullied people, he was harsh and cruel. An Yuding was quite displeased at her retort. She snapped back like an exploding chicken, "Why are you pretending in front of me? Don't think that you can become a phoenix by staying with Brother Shochi. You're just his plaything. Maybe one day you will be dumped by him. You'll have to face the consequences later on." Su Yaya remained calm, not angry at her words at all. She hummed, answering her in a way. Of course she knew that she was just a plaything, since that was how her character was written in the book. Su Yaya knew her place and didn't dare to overstep her boundaries. She wouldn't dream of unrealistic things either. All she wanted was to take this chance and make her relationship with him better so she could gather as much resources as she can right now, as well as receive more money when she divorces. Then, she will leave him for good. That was her motive. It was very clear. An Yuding looked at her careless look and became angrier. She was thinking that she must be pretending. She must be. "Don't think," An Yuding wanted to say some more when the elevator door opened. She raised her head to see Assistant Chen outside. This man was one of the most trusted men by Chen Shochi's side, so she had no choice but to swallow her words and change her fierce expression to a polite smile. She said to him, "Assistant Chen, you came specially to pick me up." The corner of Assistant Chen's lips stiffened. In reality, he came over to pick Su Yaya according to Chen Shochi's direction. However, he reacted quickly. He had experienced many sudden events that were harder to handle than this during his time at work. He smiled and said to An Yuding, "President Chen is in the parlor. You can go straight over to meet him. Do you need me to take you over?" "No need. I can go over myself." Once An Yuding said this, she walked quickly over to the parlor. She was too eager to see Chen Shochi. Chapter 43. An Yuding, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Ch 43 An Yuding, 3, Kidichio. Dear readers, if you want a mass release of MLSW, please vote on my Patreon's poll below. https://www.patreon.com/posts/331294335, no need. I can go over myself. Once Yuding said this, she walked quickly over to the parlor. She was too eager to see Qin Shochi. Once she left, Assistant Chen said to Su Yaya, "Miss Su, President Chen wants you to wait in his office momentarily. Please follow me." "Okay." Su Yaya nodded at him and followed him to Qin Shochi's office. One waited in the parlor while the other went to the office to meet him. This clearly showed the difference between the two. When Su Yaya arrived at the said office, she was shocked to discover that Qin Shochi was still there. "Aren't you in the parlor? I still need to handle some work here." "I'll go over later," Qin Shochi said honestly. Su Yaya no longer suspected his actions. As she walked over and placed the lunchbox on the coffee table, Qin Shochi came to her side and said, "What did you bring for me today?" Su Yaya replied, "Picked vegetables with meat slice soup, cucumber with scrambled eggs, tomato with stir-fried meat, and stir-fried bok choys." Qin Shochi nodded his head in satisfaction. He said to her, "I'll go out for now and I'll be back later. Don't you dare eat without me." Why is he acting like a kid? Su Yaya found it funny. "Okay, I won't eat without you. Go quickly and come back." She knew that he was going to see Yuding, but she didn't care. Su Yaya was just a cannon fodder female side lead, so she just needed to do her job. That way, she could live longer. Who knew that Qin Shochi would observe her intently and ask, "Why don't you ask me why I'm going out?" Su Yaya's heart thumped. What did he mean? He was unhappy because she didn't ask what he was doing. But what right did she have to ask him? He is the male lead and she was the cannon fodder female side lead. They were only married by contract and she was only his wife by name, meaning that she simply needed to do her best at acting her part. Why did she need to care about so much? Heh. She laughed and said, "You're going out because you have matters to attend to. I can just wait here for you." Qin Shochi looked deeply at her, his eyes mixed with unexplainable emotions. He turned around and walked out. At the parlor, Yuding who had been waiting for a while finally saw Qin Shochi. She watched as his tall figure walked into the parlor and she hurriedly stood up from her seat. Yuding sweetly called, "Brother Shochi." The man turned to look at her. Compared to her enthusiasm, he was much more indifferent. He nodded his head at her and faintly said, "Sit." Yuding sat down and stared at Qin Shochi. He was really handsome and she really liked him. Her heart thumped quickly and non-stop as she watched him. "Why are you looking for me?" Qin Shochi sat on the seat across and asked faintly. Yuding purposefully spoke in a soft and artificial voice, "Brother Shochi, I heard that Xingshi Entertainment invested in Flourishing Palace. I've read the original novel and I really like the second female lead. Can you give me that role?" The female lead was the Thousand Flowers Award and Best Actress, Qin Yen. It was already set in stone. Plus, based on her popularity, status, and acting, she was much better than herself. She can't change who was the female lead but she could act as the second female lead for sure. She had the confidence. Yuding believed that since Qin Shochi liked his sister the most and since she was her sister, with this layer of relationship, he will definitely agree. She begged, "Brother Shochi, it's just a small role. You can just order them to give the role to me. Just give me the second female lead role please. You said that you will take care of me as if I am actually your sister." Chapter 44. Really a treasure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. ch44 Really a treasure. Kidijio. Dear readers, if you want a mass.release of MLSW, please vote on my Patreon's poll below. https://www.patreon.com/posts/331294335 Qin Shochi listened as Yuding brought up past events and he was a bit annoyed for some reason. His face became gloomy for a second. Yuding observed his expression and she could tell he was unhappy. She decided to add on and act cute, "Brother Shochi, so yes or no?" Just give me the second female lead please. I'll call my sister tonight and tell her about this. Nothing sounded wrong, but once someone listened to it carefully, it didn't seem right. If he agreed, everything would be good. But what if he didn't agree? She said that she would tell her sister about this. Didn't that mean that she will threaten to tell her sister? How would Chen Xiuqi allow himself to be threatened? Even if he liked An Yutong a lot, he wouldn't allow An Yuting to threaten him. He stared indifferently at her and said, I already chose someone for the role and the contract is signed. If you want other roles, I can arrange it for you, but not this one. Brother Xiuqi. An Yuting wanted to fight for it, but Chen Xiuqi already stood up and showed her to the door. I have other matters to attend to. I'll have Assistant Chen bring you down. As he said this, he walked out and didn't even spare her another look. She sat there, stunned on her seat. It took a while before she finally reacted. Brother Xiuqi won't even give her sister face. She liked the second female lead role so such, and she already made it clear. Yet, he won't even agree. She was sad and upset. She suddenly thought of Su Yaya, who brought food for Chen Xiuqi. That cheap woman looked similar to her sister. It must be her. She must have charmed Brother Xiuqi. That cheap woman. She must tell her sister about this. She won't let her go. Chen Xiuqi walked to the office door and recalled what An Yuting had said to him in the parlor. He knitted his eyebrows and tugged his tie. He placed his hand on the door and pushed it open. Su Yaya was scrolling through Weibo when she heard movement by the door. She placed her phone down and looked up. She revealed a sweet smile and her voice was pleasant to the ears. Hubby, you're back. Chen Xiuqi stared at her smile and her two cute dimples on her cheeks. He strangely felt the irritated feeling disappeared and his heart softened a bit. Hubby, you must be hungry. Come over and eat. I didn't secretly eat anything. Su Yaya smiled as she greeted him. She opened the lunchbox and placed the dishes and chopsticks on the table. Chen Xiuqi watched her and he suddenly thought of how he teased her and told her not to eat without him. He smiled and said, You really listen to me. Su Yaya raised her head and looked innocently at her. Of course. You're my hubby. This pleased Chen Xiuqi successfully. He couldn't help but walk up to her. He sat next to Su Yaya in a pleasant mood. He reached over to pat her head. You're really a treasure. Su Yaya slightly smiled and took it as a compliment. Time to eat. Su Yaya delivered the bowl and chopsticks to him. He took it and said, Let's eat together. Okay. Su Yaya smiled sweetly and followed his actions. The food was very tasty and the pickled vegetables with sliced meat soup looked really appetizing. The cucumber with scrambled eggs was fresh and delicious. The two enjoyed their meal. Chen Xiuqi felt that with her by his side, he was very happy while eating. Sigh. He ate too much again. His 6 packs will be gone soon. Chen Xiuqi was sad for some reason. After they finished, Su Yaya packed everything up. Then, she took out a dessert. Seeing Chen Xiuqi's complicated gaze on her, she blinked her eyes and said, Why are you looking at me like that? Chen Xiuqi sighed and he wanted to scold her. You're an artiste. Aren't you afraid of being fat from eating so much desserts? Su Yaya heard this and laughed. She scooped a bit of the mango pudding in her mouth, wanting to prove something. She said in satisfaction, My body can't get fat. She said the truth. She enjoyed eating and sleeping every day. She exercised occasionally, but when she went to weigh herself on the scale, she ended up losing 2 pounds. When she saw the number on the scale, she was stunned and thought that it was broken. She went to another place to weigh herself and reality proved that she became skinnier. That was when she realized that she would never be fat from eating. Who doesn't want a body like this? She could eat all the delicious food she desired and didn't need to be afraid of being fat. After she found this out, she was ecstatic and ate everything she wanted to. Once Chinchouchi heard this, he deeply sighed. He seemed to have gotten a bit fatter after eating. Never mind. He'll have to arrange to go to the gym sometimes. While Chinchouchi decided to exercise in the gym, Su Yaya came over and asked him if he wanted to eat a mango pudding that she brought over and hasn't opened yet. Do you want? Chinchouchi looked at her, then at the mango pudding in her hand. He originally wanted to refuse, but he couldn't control himself and took it. After all, he had already eaten too much. A pudding wouldn't do him too much harm. Anyway, he could just run on the treadmill for 2 hours. After he ate the pudding, he rested for a while before going back to work. Su Yaya sat by the side and scrolled through Weibo. She received Zhou Peiyun's call. Come to the company. What's the matter? She seemed to be anxious. Something good happened. Zhou Peiyun said. Chapter 45. Sun Qin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. Sun Qin Kidijio. Dear readers, if you want a mass release of MLSW, please vote on my Patreon's poll below. https://www.patreon.com/posts/331294335. When she heard it was good news, Su Yaya didn't delay any further. She originally wanted to play in Chinchouchi's office for a while and head over to attend the acting class in another half an hour. Now, she hurried over. Then I'll come in a bit. Su Yaya hung up and said to Chinchouchi, Sister Zhou wants me at the company. Chinchouchi raised his head from the documents and looked at Su Yaya. Be careful on your way and call me if anything happens. Okay, I know. Su Yaya answered. She waved at Chinchouchi and left with the lunchbox. Su Yaya drove over to the company and took the elevator upstairs. She just walked out of the elevator when Zhou Peiyun pulled her to the training acting room. Inside the room, an elegant woman with exquisite makeup on stood in the very front. Artistes from different companies surrounded her. She was teaching them right now. Zhou Peiyun whispered to Su Yaya, in the front is Miss Sun Qin. She was a film empress and was the professor at S-City's filming college. She's an expert in acting and she has some relations with our boss. That's why she agreed to teach acting class in our company for a few days. You need to learn from Miss Sun Qin and prepare for your second female lead role. It was rare that she had a great chance to learn from S-City's filming college professor. Su Yaya nodded and found a seat, concentrating on the lesson. What was magical was that Su Yaya noticed that she was able to understand everything Miss Sun Qin said. She was also able to perform what was asked. Her body was really special, as if she was born with a talent for acting. Whatever she wanted to perform, she was able to do according to her imagination. It was really unbelievable. Miss Sun Qin had noticed her on the stage as well. She indicated for her to come over. Come over and perform what I just did. Su Yaya was slightly nervous but walked over to Miss Sun Qin. She performed according to her understanding and the script that she had read. Miss Sun Qin took the lead and started to clap. She smiled and complimented, you did a good job. You have your own understanding and interpretation. Very good. Su Yaya couldn't help but blush. She bowed at her and said, thank you Miss Sun Qin. The other artistes were jealous and envious that she had gotten Miss Sun Qin's compliment. A class lasted an hour and a half. It passed by quickly and Su Yaya was about to leave when Miss Sun Qin stopped her. I really like your performance. You are very lively. This is my contact. I am eager to have an opportunity to work with you in the future. Thank you Miss Sun Qin. Su Yaya accepted the contact information she was given and hurriedly gave her own contact to Miss Sun Qin. The two exchanged WeChat and promised to contact each other frequently. Sometimes, it was that simple to make friends. They became friends just because they liked each other. After Su Yaya watched as Sun Qin got in her car and left, Zhou Peiyun held onto Su Yaya's hand and smiled. This is the first time she felt like she made a correct decision in signing a contract with her to be her artiste. She really made a right decision. Right now, she completely forgot how angry she got with how lazy Su Yaya was. Who had the ability to make Sun Qin like them at their first meeting? Who had the ability to make Sun Qin compliment them? And who had the ability to let Sun Qin say that she is eager to work with them? She was the film empress. Not everyone could be friends with her. Only Su Yaya. She felt like she had hit the jackpot. Her artiste will become famous. Haha. The path to becoming the golden manager will be much closer for her now. Su Yaya calmly stared at Zhou Peiyun, who laughed foolishly for a long time. She really didn't understand why she laughing so happily about. Her tears fell down her face due to laughter. Was she really that happy? When Su Yaya's phone rang, she shifted her gaze. She opened her bag and found her phone. She saw the name on the screen. It was Chen Xiuqi who called. She answered quickly and heard Chen Xiuqi say, "I have some matters to attend to today. I won't be going back. Be good at home." Why did it feel like he was worried about her when she heard the last sentence? Why did he need to worry about her? She must be overthinking. Su Yaya knew that it was normal for bosses like Chen Xiuqi to not come home for a few days because he had to manage the whole company and handle businesses. Of course, besides work, there were a lot of dinner parties and social outings he needed to attend. There were a lot of appeals outside. However, she didn't really care about this. After all, she wasn't the original host. Even if she was, they were married by contract. She had no right to intervene. So what if he didn't come home? She was happy and relaxed. He could work on his matters while she worked on hers. She decided that he had given her a day off. That way, she didn't need to see him and carefully act to try to please him. She thought this was pretty good. She could have a good night's sleep and not be crushed. Yay! Chapter 46. Don't waste your chance. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ch 46. Don't waste your chance. 1. Su Yaya was very happy as she obediently replied okay. She didn't forget to show her concern towards him by reminding him, "You have to take care of yourself too." When Chen Xiuqi heard her words, he smiled with satisfaction. After replying okay, he hung up. Su Yaya put her phone away and suddenly felt someone staring at her. She raised her line of sight and her eyes met Zhou Peiyun's gaze. Her gaze was full of concern as she looked at her. Su Yaya felt uneasy under her gaze. She nervously gulped and asked, "What's the matter?" Zhou Peiyun frowned slightly and asked in a concerned tone, "Was it President Chen who just called you?" Su Yaya nodded her head, "Yeah." "What did he say?" Zhou Peiyun asked. Su Yaya blinked her eyes and thought that she was acting a little strange. However, she still answered truthfully, "He said he's not coming home today because he has matters he needs to attend to." Did he say what he's doing? Su Yaya thought the question was a little funny. She cast a glance at Zhou Peiyun and asked, "Why do I need to be concerned about that he's doing? Are you stupid?" Zhou Peiyun reached out and poked her forehead. His gaze was sharp like a knife. It seemed as if she was resentful at Su Yaya for failing her expectations. President Chen is not an ordinary person. If you don't grasp him tightly, what if he finds a new woman outside? When that time comes, you don't even have a place to cry. Su Yaya pouted and thought, he will find a new person sooner or later. Oh, that person isn't a new person, she is his white moonlight female lead. Meanwhile, Su Yaya was simply a cannon fodder, so what could she use to hold him tighter? What could she use to compete with his white moonlight female lead? She shouldn't do anything she shouldn't be doing, otherwise it'll produce the opposite result. Just forget it. When Zhou Peiyun saw that she didn't respond, she asked, "What are you thinking about?" Su Yaya shook her head, nothing. Zhou Peiyun was a little angry because she could tell that Su Yaya was lying to him. Whenever Su Yaya encountered anything related to love, she would become stupid. Does she think that Chen Xiuqi would stay hers for this lifetime just because she claimed him? Forget it, since this woman was the artist she had her eyes on, she should remind her a little. She said to Su Yaya, "Do you understand what I said? Take advantage of the fact that he still likes you right now and is willing to spoil you, ask him for more resources. Don't waste your chance. After you become popular, even if he doesn't want you anymore, you will still be able to live comfortably." Su Yaya blinked her eyes and replied slowly with an "oh." When Zhou Peiyun saw her like this, she sighed in her heart. It seemed like she had wasted her energy trying to explain. Zhou Peiyun doesn't even know if Su Yaya had understood her good intentions behind this advice, or perhaps she might even think she was an evil person for interfering. Su Yaya was thinking over what Zhou Peiyun's words. Although Zhou Peiyun was a little snobbish, she knew that Zhou Peiyun was thinking about her when she said those things. She was hoping that she would ask for more resources and connections, so that she could live well even if she leaves Chen Xiuqi in the future. However, there were some things that Zhou Peiyun didn't know, and things weren't as simple as this manager imagined. According to the plot of the original novel, the female lead, An Yutong, will also enter the entertainment circle after she returns. At that time, Chen Xiuqi will fully support her, and she will become the most popular star in film, television, and music circle. In contrast, she will only be suppressed until there is no more chance for her to survive because she was a cannon fodder. It was impossible for her to stay in the entertainment circle, and even if she accumulated any connections right now, it would become useless later. She could only go back to the countryside to farm. However, she couldn't tell Zhou Peiyun about these things, so she could only laugh insincerely. Chapter 47. Don't waste your chance. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Don't waste your chance. 2. Zhou Peiyun signed and said to her, "Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. You should go back to rest first. I will take you to the audition for a commercial tomorrow morning." Another commercial. She had just finished shooting a commercial. Why did she need to shoot another commercial? What do you mean, why is it another advertisement? Zhou Peiyun raised an eyebrow. Do you know which company the commercial is from? It's K Group's new couple watch. Do you think just anyone would be able to shoot this commercial? You would need to audition for the role, and you might not even get it. Do you know how difficult it was for me to get you a chance to audition for it? Do you want it or not? If you don't want, I'll just give this opportunity to someone else. Yes, I want it. I want it. Su Yaya quickly said, "Sister Zhou, I will go with you to the audition tomorrow." What a joke, K Group's watches were very famous. If she could shoot the commercial for them, then she would receive a big sum of money for it. She was going to work hard to save up money right now, so she could go to the countryside and buy a small garden. That's better. Zhou Peiyun was finally satisfied. She warned her repeatedly, "Come to the company at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, don't be late." I know. Su Yaya promised her again and again. Zhou Peiyun said, "I heard that they have already decided that the lead male role will be Yan Junyi for the couple watch commercials. Right now, they are mainly focused on finding the female lead role for the commercial. Yan Junyi's request was that they can't find someone more popular than him, otherwise the other party will steal his limelight. He said it was best if the female lead is a newcomer. K Group also hopes to find a beautiful newcomer, that's why they're having this audition." Su Yaya understood that she was a newcomer and that she was also beautiful. Since she met the conditions, she must carefully seize this opportunity. BVEC, after you return home, learn more about the K Group. Zhou Peiyun urged her. Okay. After saying goodbye to Zhou Peiyun, Su Yaya left the company and went back home first. When Sun Qin left Xinghui Entertainment, she saw Su Yaya standing by the side of the road, and watched her car leave. Sun Qin became more and more fond of Su Yaya. Driver Lao Tang glanced at Sun Qin, who was sitting behind him from the rearview mirror. When he saw her smiled and sensed that she was in a very good mood, he asked, "Teacher Sun, why are you so happy?" "I met a very cute girl. She is both smart and cute, I really like her." Sun Qin thought of Su Yaya, who had a talent for acting. Su Yaya was able to make the characters she portrays come to life vividly when she was given only a simple plot description. She hadn't encountered such an intelligent child in a long time. As long as she was carefully groomed, she will definitely achieve excellent results with time. It seemed like she saw her younger self in Su Yaya. Does Teacher Sun want to take her in as a student? Seeing how much Sun Qin liked the girl, Lao Tang couldn't help but asked with a smile. Sun Qin paused, as she was too immersed in the joy of finding someone like Su Yaya that she hasn't thought about this yet. Now that Lao Tang had asked her, she carefully considered it. Su Yaya was indeed talented, and it was a good proposal for to accept her as a student. It was just that she had just met Su Yaya, she didn't know much about her. There were many people with talent in this world, but she wanted someone with good moral integrity. She still needed to know Su Yaya better. It wouldn't be too late for her to take her in as a student after she confirmed that she was indeed good enough. "We'll see," Sun Qin said with a smile. Chapter 48. When the Lion Isn't Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ch 48. When the lion isn't home. Lao Tang could hear the underlying meaning behind her words. It didn't mean that she didn't want to, but rather she wanted to be more cautious. She wanted to test her a little more to make sure to guarantee that she was absolutely safe. Accepting someone as a student wasn't a simple matter, so it was better to be more cautious. The car shuttled through the traffic and Lao Tang asked Sun Qin, "Teacher Sun, where are we going now?" Sun Qin returned to the capital this time because she was invited to participate in the Jingdu's Film Festival's award ceremony. The Jingdu Film Festival is scheduled for 8:00 p.m. the day after tomorrow. She had some other things she needed to deal with, so she arrived in Jingdu 2 days earlier. Sun Qin looked out at the familiar yet unfamiliar streets, and thought about it. "Can we go to the Chen family from this road?" Lao Tang was a little stunned. He had been driving for Sun Qin for many years, so he knew many things about Sun Qin. For her to ask about the Chen family, it was because she couldn't put the matter down. He quickly replied, "I just need to drive forward a few hundred meters, then turn right at the crossroads, and drive for around 20 minutes to reach the Chen family." When he finished speaking, he waited for Sun Qin's reply. There was no movement in the back, and it seemed like Sun Qin was in a daze thinking. Lao Tang slowed down the speed of the car and gave her more time to think clearly. He drove for a few hundred meters and they would soon arrive at the crossroad. Sun Qin, who was sitting in the back, had yet to speak. Lao Tang thought that she would give up again like in the past. At this time, Sun Qin seemed to have suddenly awakened from her thought and said, "Lao Tang, turn right and go take a look at the Chen family." When Lao Tang heard it, the worried expression on his face was replaced with a cheerful expression. It was good to go to the Chen family whom they haven't seen them for a long time, so it was good to visit them. When the car arrived at the crossroad, the light had just turned green. He quickly turned the steering wheel to the right and headed for the Chen family. Since Chen Xiuqi wasn't coming home today, Su Yaya was the only person in the villa. She casually made a bowl of noodles and poached 2 eggs for dinner. In this big villa, only Su Yaya was present, but she didn't mind it. Instead, she felt happy and comfortable like this. She could do whatever she wanted to. First, she went on the internet and checked the information on the K Group. She then searched for the previous commercials the K Group had filmed in the past and watched those videos for a bit. She also went to the gym and exercised for an hour before going to take a shower. Afterwards, she did her skin care routine, and then laid on the bed while scrolling through Weibo. The 2-meter-long bed had a soft mattress, yet only Su Yaya was sleeping on it. No matter how she rolled, to the left or right, she didn't have to worry about falling off the bed like before. Oh, he. It's so comfortable. Su Yaya held the blanket as she rolled around the bed. She was happy to death that she won't be flattened like a pancake by Chinchuchi today. Since the lion isn't home today, the monkey will be the king, she cried out happily as she threw the pillow to the ceiling. Who's the lion? Su Yaya was so pleased that she lost herself and said the words hidden deep in her heart out loud. Who would have known that the moment she finished speaking, a clunk sounded by the doorway. Chinchuchi opened the bedroom door and appeared at the bedroom door. He swept his sharp gaze across her. There was no expression on his handsome face, and his tall figure emitted a strong pressure. Why is he here? Su Yaya was scared witless as she blankly stared at Chinchuchi who was standing by the door. She even forgot to smoothly call him husband. The author has something to say. Chinchuchi. Call me. Su Yaya. Husband, 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 husband. Her will to live was very strong, ha 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 ha. Chapter 49. When the Lion Isn't Home, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. When the Lion Isn't Home, 2, seeing that she said nothing and looked at himself in confusion, Chinchuchi humped coldly at her. He tugged the tie on his neck and walked towards her in large strides. Didn't you say that you aren't going to be back today? Su Yaya finally snapped out of her trance and looked at Chinchuchi. Chinchuchi stood in front of her bed and held her chin up with his slender and long finger, making her raise her head. He slightly squinted and looked at her with a tint of danger in his eyes. He said softly, if I don't come back, what do you plan on doing? Meeting his dangerous gaze, Su Yaya's heart thumped rapidly and loudly, as if her heart was about to jump out of her chest. She nervously fisted her hands on her side and gulped. She said shyly, I don't plan on doing anything. Heh. He'd be stupid to believe her. He curled his lip and half-smiled, do you plan on tearing down the house? This was a frightening question. She felt as if she dared to say yes then he would tear her apart. Su Yaya was a coward and couldn't help but shiver. Out of her instinct to survive, she hurriedly said, how could that be? This is our house. I don't even have time to treasure it. Why would I do that? Heh. Chinchuchi said, oh, purposefully dragging the letter. He clicked his tongue. Su Yaya trembled as she heard this. Her instinct told her something bad was about to happen. As expected, Chinchuchi asked, then who was the one that said that since the tiger isn't home, they'll be in charge of the house? She knew that she couldn't avoid this. Ah! Su Yaya cried in her heart. If she admitted to this, she'd be done for. Therefore, she tried her luck. She pounced and hugged Chinchuchi's waist, her desire to survive was evident. She stared at him with her big watery eyes and said in a miserable tone, not me. I didn't. You must have heard wrong. She must submit in this situation. Su Yaya knew to act according to the other person's mood. When facing danger, she immediately submitted to the opposing party entirely. After all, there wasn't much she could do. All she needed to do was to soothe Chinchuchi. Who let Chinchuchi to be the male lead of this novel? Not only that, he's the dominant CEO and her sugar daddy. She really couldn't afford to offend him, otherwise, she might die. Dovi ko he. Chinchuchi clearly didn't expect her to suddenly throw herself in his arms. She reached over to hug him tightly and revealed a pitiful look like a little kitten. With a beauty in his arms, his heart softened instantly. He couldn't keep the taut look on his face and laughed suddenly. Chinchuchi didn't expect Su Yaya to be terrified that quickly. He thought that she would at least persist for a while. The truth is, this girl had pretended to be obedient and sensible in front of him. She sweetly called him hubby without a trace of unease and was really well behaved. Plus, she was also very cute and adorable. His heart softened at her calling him hubby. Who knew that the night he wasn't home, she started to cause a ruckus. She really thought that she, a monkey, could flip the world over when he, a tiger, wasn't home watching her. Never having seen anything like this, he couldn't help but think. Which side was the real her? Was it the well-behaved and cute girl, the real her? Or the wild girl who did as she wished whenever he wasn't home, the real her? But thinking deeply about it, it seemed like whatever side of her was the real her, he thought she was very cute. He wanted to pamper her. Chinchochi was scared by his thought. It felt like he was in a spell. Chapter 50. When the Lion Isn't Home, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Ch 50. When the Lion Isn't Home, 3, Chinchochi was scared by his thought. It felt like he was in a spell. He didn't know whether it was because he felt guilty from thinking of this or for other reasons, but he couldn't help looking at Suyaya. When he saw her chubby face, watery eyes, and her miserable look, he couldn't release his anger on her even if he wanted to. Sigh. Never mind. Who let her be his woman? No matter which side is the real her, seeing that she had helped him successfully inherit the 100 billion inheritance, he will be generous and not argue with her. When Suyaya heard him laugh, she knew that he was probably not angry at her anymore. She admitted to how terrified she was. She carefully looked at Chinchochi's face and continued to hug him as she rubbed her face against his chest like a kitten. She acted cute and said, "Hubby, didn't you say you aren't going to be home tonight? Why did he come back?" She almost got scared to death. Plus, he had a tense face on. It felt like he was very angry. Being the male lead and dominant CEO, Chinchochi was a bit scary when he was angry, so she needed to soothe him. Chinchochi felt himself warming up from her rubbing herself on him. Chinchochi's heart stopped thumping for 2 seconds. He reached over to pinch her face. "Didn't you want me to be away so that you can have all the fun you can at home?" "Since when?" Suyaya didn't admit to this. Seeing that he was staring at her, she blinked her big doughy eyes. She murmured in a low voice, "At most, I was just rolling in bed." Chinchochi said, "Heh." He sneered and he swept his sharp gaze over her. He said, "I'm tired." Suyaya immediately raised her right hand and said, "I'll go turn the hot water on so you can take a shower and relax." Being eager to work and well-behaved, Chinchochi tilted the corner of his lip up and was very satisfied in his heart. "Go ahead." "Yes, sir." Suyaya mimicked how the court eunuch would have saluted as shown on TV. She went to the bathroom to turn the hot water on. That night, Suyaya did everything to the best of her ability. She turned the hot water on and then massaged Chinchochi, hoping that he will forget about it and let her go generously. Who knew that after Chinchochi enjoyed the service, he leaned against the headboard and squinted his eyes. He said, "Since you like to roll in bed, let's roll a few times in bed together." Suyaya was speechless. The result of Chinchochi having sex with her too many times was that Suyaya fell asleep early. By the time she was up, it was already almost 9 in the morning. "I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late." She urgently got out of bed, and when she did, her legs were trembling. She almost fell due to a lack of balance. "It's still early. Why are you so anxious?" said the guy who had been doing the work all night but didn't seem tired at all. Instead, he seemed refreshed and energetic. "I am supposed to go to an audition with Sister Zhou at 9. Suyaya said honestly. "Audition for what? Didn't I just give you a second female lead role in a TV show?" Chinchochi asked curiously. "An advertisement audition." Su Yeni said this and walked to the bathroom. "Why do you want to tire yourself? There are advertisements in my company. Do you want some?" Seeing her slender silhouette, maybe it was heartache, or because he was in a good mood, He thought of how she asked him for advertisements a few days ago and somehow decided to say this. For real? Su Yaya said in surprise.